What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and this video I want to talk about Dragon Age the Veilguard reviews. They are out. They came out obviously several hours ago, but I wanted to take a couple hours to look at them, and honestly, I don't know if it could be more split. Now, the scores themselves, right? In terms of the average, you look at the average on Metacritic, 84, and you say, okay, that's actually pretty darn high. If a random game gets an 84, you look at it and you say, wow, they pulled it off, right? I mean, we've gotten games like the Metaphors of the world. Silent Hill was kind of a nice surprise for those that didn't think much of it, and they hit like the high 80s, the low 90s, but an 84 is really good. Overall, I would say an 84 is a really good score. The issue is, actually there's a couple different issues that I want to bring up in this video. Number one is, for it having that score, right, it's really helped by a lot of 9s and a lot of 10s. I believe it's got like 6 10s, 2 9.5s, I think somewhere like 10 9s, so it's really held up by a bunch of 9s, a bunch of 10s. But then on the other side of things, it's got 3 6 out of 10s, and I think somewhere in the range of about 6 7 out of 10s, and then actually quite a few 7.5s. Then you also go over, by the way, because it's just Metacritic, right? You go over to YouTube and you notice, BioWare seemingly was pretty picky with who they were giving out codes to. Now, I think there was something with Skill Up that people were talking about initially, but there is a review. Skill Up did do a review. ACG, who I honestly look to him as one of, maybe not the only one, but one of the people that really, I think, is very honest and has managed to grow in companies, whether he hates past games or likes them. Companies give him codes. He did not get offered a code for Dragon Age the Veilguard. And so it feels to me like these are cherry-picked reviews. And you also, for a game this size, this is a very, very big game. There's a decent amount of scores. I think there's somewhere like 47, 48 scores, but you probably expect that to get into the 90s when all's said and done. So what does all of this mean, okay? This is a very hard one to kind of go over, like, okay, in summary, what is everybody saying, like, on average? Well, there is no average, because for everything that one person will say that they love, the other person will say that they hate it. And that's what you're seeing, I would say, online. Skill Up did not like this game. Mr. Matty Plays, he's a guy that I highly respect his opinion on a lot of things. He did not like the game. Mortismal Gaming, he actually did like the game. Like, it depends basically on who you're watching. So, look, I say this for pretty much every game, but I feel like this one is even more specific. Make your own decision. And I will say it's kind of harder to make your own decision when, something that one person says that they like, another person says that they don't like, right? Because, some of the higher scores are praising the game's combat, saying like this is the best combat BioWare has had. The 60 scores say that the combat feels outdated. It feels 10, 15 years old. So what is it? Is the combat good or is the combat not good? The writing and the characters, a lot of the high scores say that this is one of the better casts that they've ever put together. I did see a lot of sites say that no matter what, right, kind of taking away the subjectivity, right, no matter what, this game is more of like a Mass Effect feel than a Dragon Age feel. So picture like how Mass Effect 2 or 3 works with like mission setups and bringing allies and doing their side quests. Picture that's how this game is, okay? So that's something you can actually pinpoint, but then you have, again, some of the higher scores saying, yeah, these casts are amazing, and then some of the lower ones saying the writing is just not good. Now, I've seen some pretty bad writing pictures, like people have done pictures of some of the lines that are going around this game. Not ideal. I don't want to get into like the culture war kind of stuff. I dabble in it every now and then. I'll call it out. I'll agree depending on what the situation is. I will say those pictures and some of the writing in this game do not look good. However, they are just I think I saw maybe 4 different instances. 4 is actually quite a bit. You'd probably want to limit that to even less. But, this is, again, it's a tough one because, I want to talk about the combat. Like, to me, and I've said this before leading in, the combat always looked pretty good. Pretty good. I can deal with Dragon Age 1 and 2. I actually really like Dragon Age's 2 combat, and I can deal with Inquisition. And if you're going to keep going from Inquisition, which is what this basically is, right, I can absolutely take that, right? I've talked about, like, the art style is one of my main kind of critiques with it, but you do have a lot of people saying it runs well. You have a lot of people saying that it looks very, very pretty. I didn't see too many people talking about, like, the actual art style, like, what I was kind of saying earlier. Like, for me, it's too colorful in certain ways. I do think generally the cast in terms of like your companions is pretty good. I think Shinobi on Twitter talked about one of his really only weaknesses with the cast is like, and again, on average, I think most people like the cast of characters and who you can romance or just hang out with and whatnot. But one thing is that because it's like this family dynamic, there's not a lot of almost like controversy. There's not something that like stirs the pot that kind of like messes with things every now and then. It's generally like if there's a disagreement, it gets solved kind of immediately in just a quick little conversation, or there's not like any kind of build up or any kind of repercussions to things. It just kind of happens. And there's, again, there's smaller things based off of, I saw in Mortismal's review, he talked about like being evil. It's not really a game to be evil. Like, there's good choices and then there's like fine choice. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you can't be super evil, but you can be super good. You can be super good and you can be kind of good, right? Those are kind of the two kind of breakdowns of it. So I don't know. This one is tough. I've long said, okay, I continue to say, make your own decisions on these things. I was going to get this game because I want to experience it. I want to see what this game is. I like Dragon Age. That's another thing, but I want to see what this game is about. I want to give my own opinion and I want to do a review and do videos for you guys this week going into next week, okay? That is the reason. Those are the reasons why I was going to get the game. It's tough, though. I don't know if I've ever seen, honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen an 84 be so controversial. Because, again, and I do, honestly, I guess I get both sides to things, right? Where it's like, hey, 84 is good. And if you just look at the score, you look at these 10s and these 9s, you say, hey, generally, and again, I guess to kind of end it on one other positive there, I do think most people are saying that BioWare is like on the upward swing. Now, the difference is the higher scores are saying this is BioWare at its very best, right? This is the Mass Effect 2 moment. They actually did it. BioWare is bigger and better than ever. Things like that. The 6s and the 7s are saying things like, well, it's somewhat of a return to form. You hope they can build on this. This is the start of their build-up. It doesn't sound amazing when you say, honestly, it almost sounds like pity points to me, but I mean, it can be true, right? And I do think that's, again, an on-average thing that people are saying where it's like, all right, depending on how well you like Dragon Age the Veilguard or don't like it, is it better than Andromeda? And is it better than Anthem? Like, can you tell that BioWare is going in a bad or good direction? It's overwhelmingly good. It's just how good, right? Is it, oh, they're actually better than what they were when they did Mass Effect 2 and Dragon Age 1 and 2. They're better than that. Or is it, well, this is not their top. This doesn't match any of those top games, but it's not as bad as Anthem. It's not as bad as Mass Effect Andromeda, so they are on the up and up. Now, you don't actually know that because it's one game, and so I guess they have to do even better with Mass Effect 4, right? That would be the hope. So that's kind of where we're at, and, like I said, it's tough because I very much think that there is some cherry picking going, and that disappoints me. That really does. That has nothing to do with me. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting a code like as a content creator later on in the week. I do think they're doing waves of codes for content creators, but it's not like a selfish, oh, they didn't give me a code or anything. For me, it's like, it is very clear that they were picking. They were picking sites. They were picking influencers that hopefully were going to maybe go along with what they wanted to go along with. And when you have an 84, again, that's good, but you have a lot of 10s and a lot of 9s. I would expect more like 8s. I would expect like 7.5 to 8.5, right? You expect more in that range. Instead, you get a lot of 9s and 10s, and you get a lot of 6 and 7s. So it's like, okay, as the week goes and as 40 more sites give out their review and they didn't get the code early, what are those scores going to be? Are they going to be more 6s and 7s, or are they going to be more 8 or 9 or 10, right? And even when more influencers get it, when the fans get it on Friday, right? Is this a game that's actually an 84, or are fans going to come and say, oh man, this is a 60 or 70? It's going to be interesting to see, but this is one of those examples. I don't think, again, I want you to make your own decisions. I get the review scores and all that stuff. But if you were going to like go based off scores for games, I don't know if this is actually one you can go on because it's just so messy. It's one of the more messy 84s that I've ever seen in my life. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.